Welcome to the Mango Effect podcast, where every week we talk about the path to living a limitless life and having the freedom to do it your way. No topics are off limits. We get into the practical, the hypothetical, and the downright juicy stuff. I'm Mindy Rosser, your host and lifestyle cheerleader, and I'm here today to talk about the do this, not that approach to success. So you may be asking, what does do this, not that mean? The title got me. But I'm really curious, Mindy. So how do you approach decision making throughout your day? I feel like success can be boiled down to 4 words. Do this, not that. It's really that simple. And people that achieve what you want to achieve have learned this formula for themselves, and they put it into action every single day and every single week. And sometimes we go into this process of, I want to achieve success, whatever success looks like for you, whether you're looking for a successful marriage or successful parenting, or you want to achieve financial success, or you want to build a business, or you want to go further in your career. Whatever that success looks like for you, it really is boiled down to do this, not that. If you can continue repeating that formula throughout your days, throughout your weeks, throughout your months and years, it's amazing how you are going to get closer to your goals. And I was thinking about it today, and I'm like, oh, this is what I got to talk about, because there was this book that came out a while back called Eat This, Not That. And it's such a simple concept. And I didn't actually read the entire book, but I did flip through it, and I read some summaries of the book, and I thought it was just brilliantly done, because it really simplified dieting down to eat this, not that. You know, it's like, okay, stay away from unprocessed foods, or stay away from unprocessed foods. Eat unprocessed foods and stay away from processed foods, if I can talk today. So I think that same concept applies to us as we are living our lives and making decisions. And so many of us, I think, whittle away our days spinning our wheels because we are not applying this formula, and we wonder why we're not getting to where we want to go. It's really about decision making. Every single day, you are making decisions all day long. What time are you going to get up? How are you going to get up? What are you going to wear? What are you going to eat? When are you going to exercise? What type of exercise are you going to do? How is the schedule of your day looking? What are you going to do today, like in regards to your family, in regards to your relationships or friendships? What tasks need to get done around the house? All of these little decisions, seemingly little decisions, add up to a successful day or an unsuccessful day or something in the middle. Sometimes days just go haywire, but it really comes back to decision making. And the people that we admire, the people we respect, have figured this out. They know exactly how to make decisions for themselves. And everybody is very unique. If you've ever listened to people doing their perfect day, like what does your perfect day look like? And they will kind of take you step by step by step through their day. It's always very interesting to hear how people approach their days. And of course, there is no right or wrong, but the people that succeed are very, very conscious about how they live their days. And I think this is something that tends to boggle my mind when I just look at typical society. It's like we have the Monday through Friday work week, and then on Saturday, Sunday, Friday night for some people, it's party time. And it's like we're stuck in this mindset of, I got to just show up to work, kind of just do my thing. I'm just trying to make it till Friday, and then I'm free, and then I just kind of waste Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and I'm dragging myself to work on Monday. That's not a good way to live, in my opinion. I'm like, that's not going to get you where you want to go. Yes, you may just kind of plod along, slowly, kind of just like living the American life or wherever else you are, and that follows something similar. But you are not going to achieve that success. The people that you're looking up to, like the people who listen to this podcast, all of you are on a mission to design a lifestyle that works for you, and following the traditional process and just kind of checking off the boxes, kind of going through our days haphazardly and not consciously is not serving us. So we have to get really, really disciplined about decision making. And when we fail at decision making, everything else falls apart. And for me, decision making comes to scheduling my days and my weeks. So not sexy, right? If I would have titled this podcast, How to Schedule, how many people are going to click? But that's really what it's about. Scheduling our days and our weeks and really understanding our own rhythm. How do we respond to different activities? How do we respond to different engagements? Are we introverted? Are we extroverted? How many people do we need to see in real life to feel like a human? For me, sometimes I'll get stuck in the house for like a week because I'm working on my business. I'm talking to people all day. I'm always having calls and meetings and other things. But sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen a real person in like almost a week. That's pretty sad. I better go out and go surfing or go do something in real life. And it's easy for me to just get sucked into the online world and my goals and not make time for those real life human interactions. So we kind of have to look out for our own blind spots and where we need to make better decisions for our own health, our well-being, for our success in whatever way, shape, or form. And I like to look at activities as always having a cost. And I think a lot of people don't think about it this way. At least the ones I've talked to, many of them are like, if I invite you to a party, you're going to come to the party. Parties are fun, right? Everybody loves parties. And to me, if somebody invites me to a party, for example, we just recently had a friend who was turning 50, had a 50th birthday party, which was incredible. It was a beautiful production. It was a surprise party, so we were kind of holding all of the birthday surprises at our house, for this friend as they were planning the party. And so we had like stacks of just, birthday party stuff at our house for a few weeks while we were leading up to the party. So then there's the setup of the party. Jason is helping out, my partner, helping out set up the party. He's also like building these tables for the party. So like there is an opportunity cost to participating in that birthday party. We're, storing all that stuff at our house. We're trying to keep it a secret. We're trying to also rearrange our schedule because the party's going to take a whole day. Plus there's setup and breakdown, so there is a cost to this birthday party. But this birthday party is very meaningful because it is for a very close friend, probably Jason's closest guy friend, that I've ever seen. And he's a really good dude. So we were really stoked and happy to do it, but there was a cost. And that cost is very high for somebody like me. I am definitely on the introverted side of the spectrum, like I mentioned. And so for me to go to that party, there is the stress leading up to it. There's also the people aspect, 50, 70 people there. There's also managing my little ones while they're there. One of them is pretty extroverted. She's great. The other one is a little bit more introverted and is very much like me and wants to hide and says it's too many people. So the two of us kind of teamed up and hid most of the party, and just kind of made a few appearances here and there. But there was a cost. We were there for hours. I usually spend my Sundays recording this podcast, doing my weekly review, cleaning the house, really grounding myself, doing very nurturing things. And for me, a birthday party is not nurturing at all. It takes all my resources, and it is very freaking stressful. So everybody's different in how they approach activities. So for me, this was a cost I was willing to pay, but it cost me on the front end, cost me a couple of days. It cost me almost a week on the back end too. So just understanding that about yourself, you will be able to make better decisions. So for example, if somebody else invited me to a similar party, but we did not have a close relationship with them, I would say, heck no, I'm not going. It's not worth it because I'm going to waste a whole afternoon. That is prime time for me to get ready for my week. And as a digital CEO running my business, it is critical that I treat my Sundays with respect and that I make sure I have enough grounding time to get all those little loose ends tied up and be very strategically focused on the week ahead. And so if I'm going to give that up for any reason, it has to be a good one. So, for example, these same friends, a week or two later, reached out to us and said, hey, would you like to go out for a beach day on the west side? So on our island, I'm on Oahu, so if you want to look at a map, you can, but I will describe it to you. We live on the North Shore, so we're on the north end of the island. So to get to the west side, it is at least an hour and a half to get there, and there's usually traffic. It's a drive. We also have two little kids, 6 and 8, so it's not an easy mission, I would say. It is definitely a mission to get there and to actually set up. You got to pack food. It's hot over there. You need your shade. You got to pack all the boards, and then you're crossing your fingers, kind of hoping that there's surf if you're going there to surf. So this type of thing all goes through my head. And I said, you know what? These are my friends, but this week, the day that they had asked to go, our daughter was, fighting off a cough. I'm not feeling that great. I've had a very, very long week. And we said no, because the opportunity cost was too high. Do I love beach days? I do when I am relaxed, but they cost something. So having a beach day on a Saturday for me is eating into my Sunday. because I'm going to feel it the next day because of everything that has piled up from the day before that I typically do on my Saturdays. So it's all of this that we have to think about when we make decisions. And sometimes we wonder why we're not making that progress, and we look at somebody else and go, oh my gosh, how do you get everything done? I get that all the time from people. How do you get everything done? I'm like, I am the most boring freaking person out there. I do the same thing every single day. People think it's like really exotic that I live in Hawaii. And I said, well, I picked exactly where I live on the island because I do not like to make trips. I do not like to drive 40 minutes to get to the beach where I want to go surf. So I intentionally pay more money every single month so I can live right down the street for my favorite surf break that has surf 9 months out of the year. It is very strategic. And it is very much planned. It is not an accident that I live here. I didn't just happen to be on the North Shore. It was a very strategic decision where I thought through my entire day, the activities I want to do, what makes me feel the best, what times of day, what type of weather do I like. All of these things come into play. And when you don't think through them and you just kind of like happen along, whatever anyone says, one of your friends wants to do this or that, you just kind of tag along, you're not going to make the progress. I'm sorry. It may be a slower trajectory for you, and that's okay. But make sure that it's a conscious choice. So when you want to achieve success, you have to be laser focused on do this, not that. And for me, it's about doing things that make me happy and feel rejuvenated. And when I have bandwidth, and if I had bandwidth with the beach day on the west side, I would take it. If I was, cooped up in the house for a week, I didn't have anything crazy planned for the weekend, and friends said, let's go for a beach day, and the house was pretty much clean, I didn't have too much to do that week, and I say, heck yeah, let's do it. That sounds super fun. But you have to take all of these things into consideration. What is going to set you up for the next week? That's what I'm always thinking about. And I have a hard time explaining it to people, because they think I'm like a party pooper. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm a digital CEO. And they're like, well, you just stand at your computer all day. How do you have to get ready for that? It's like, because every single activity allows me to have the energy and the focus and the drive that I need to perform well at what I do. And I know the exact formula that it takes to make me a happy human, that makes me a productive human, that makes my brain work, my body work, and how I can actually get into a rhythm with my work. And when I step outside of that framework, that's when I run into trouble. When I feel peer pressure to do something that I really don't want to do because a friend told me, or I feel like societal pressure, then that's when I get really upset because I'm like, I'm forced to do this thing that I don't want to do, and it's going to throw me off for a week or 2 weeks. I have had certain activities throw me off for 2 weeks. So I know what my triggers are. I know what I can do and what I cannot do. And the better that you get over time at recognizing those things, the more smoothly your life will flow. The more smoothly your days will go. You don't have to be just like me. I am a strange bird. I know that. And that's okay. I embrace my weirdness. But I am intentional. And we can all be more intentional and just think about it. Like, okay, what is this actually going to cost me? What have my experiences been like before this when I've done something similar? So I intentionally do not have a lot of friends outside of my immediate family. And that is very intentional. The ROI for me is just not there for 99% of people out there. And I love acquaintances. I love seeing people and familiar faces when I'm surfing, when I'm out and about, in our little town. Everybody kind of knows everybody, which is great. I really like that feeling, but I'm not close friends with people. I have a few close friends and that's about it. And I like it that way because it doesn't eat into my energy barometer. It doesn't take away from my from my schedule, because it can be challenging when you have certain types of friends that are a little more clingy or a little more needy than others, or you feel like you're always having to get together for coffee and you're like, oh, okay, I feel like it's not a two-way street here. Come on. So you don't have to be friends with a lot of people. Now, if you're an extrovert, maybe you do like having a lot of friends because that makes you happy. In that case, then you make sure that you build in a lot of time for friends and for socialization. Even when you have your introvert people like me saying, you should be working more or you should be scheduling more. Well, okay, apply that, but make sure you schedule in enough friend time. It's really, really important to know what makes you happy. Like truly happy, that actually what soothes your soul, what makes you feel grounded when you're feeling like a little shaky. These are the things we need to pay attention to. And when we don't pay attention, that's when we get ourselves in trouble. Or we overcommit because we feel pressured. Or we take on more clients than we can handle because the money is good. So really thinking through all of these decisions that we are making and treating them with the gravity and the time that they deserve. Don't feel rushed into a decision. If you need more time to think it through. And also feel okay with saying no. It is totally fine to say no to something that is not a heck yeah. And so to me, it's really about acting like a digital CEO every day. How a CEO acts is very much like a laser beam. I don't know. I think of like laser focus, and somebody who is crazy strategic about their time, their energy, their body, their health, their wellness, how they're feeling, is the team supported, is the business thriving, and just really being thoughtful about every single thing that's on their calendar. And it doesn't have to be an actual Zoom meeting on your calendar. It can be hanging out with friends. It could be, going to this event, going to the gym. It could be going surfing. In my case, there are a lot of other things that are on our calendars and responsibilities that sometimes we don't think about. And it's really thinking through, okay, what is the perfect day for me? I've done a podcast about this too. And how does that day actually flow? When you nail that down, test it. You make sure it works for you. You kind of make some adjustments here or there. You are really going to replicate that same process every single day. I'm talking weekends too. I like my weekends to be repeatable, and they're not always all the same. I like to have a little bit of variety, but I still like a really good rhythm on the weekends just as much as I do on the weekdays. So this is so, so important. And I actually have a friend, and he is really set on being, this digital CEO. And he says that this is the path he wants. But you know what? He's not taking the daily actions a digital CEO would take. And so it's really frustrating sometimes because, he's complaining. I'm not getting here. I'm not getting there. It's not working for me. I can't figure this out. I'm watching a few coaching calls. I'm doing a podcast a week, but my pipeline is not filled. I'm like, well, what else are you doing the rest of that time? How are you approaching your days? And when I look at his calendar, it's like, oh my gosh, you think you're being productive. This is nothing like a digital CEO and how they would approach their day. But I feel like he's just not quite there to understand the flow of the day. How does a business owner, how does a business leader approach their day? It is very, very structured. And there are certain activities that I learned from one of my mentors, James Wedmore. He talks about the 5% activities versus the 95%, which is what most of us do. But the 5% activities that actually move the needle. And he's not doing those 5% activities, but he thinks he is. It's what you can't tell him anything because he's not listening. He doesn't hear it. He just sees what's in front of him and just wants to complain. So I think in those cases, you just have to go, okay, moving on. So really thinking through your days, just kind of getting back at that, really be thoughtful about your days. Is it taking you to where you want to go? Which kind of leads us into what is the process? Okay, Mindy, I get it, but how do I actually figure this all out? So when you master the do this, not that formula for yourself, it's really like the sky is the limit of what you can actually accomplish in your career, your business, or your life. You add this level of consciousness, this level of awareness to every single activity that you do. You realize that there's an opportunity cost to saying yes to whatever it is that you say yes to. And if you say yes to something you shouldn't say yes to, you're either stuck with it if you have to be in integrity and just follow through and get out as soon as you can, or you've got to kind of face up to it and say, hey, I actually cannot do that, and I overcommitted myself, and I have to back out or say no. So there are two different ways that you can approach it, but be really, really thoughtful about what you are saying no to. I've recently had to make some shifts in my own schedule because there were certain activities that were on my calendar that just are not aligned with where I am right now and where I'm going. And when I actually sat down and thought about it, when I was looking at my calendar, I'm like, I looked at every single meeting on my calendar and thought, is this providing the absolute value that I need right now? And again, whoever else is involved, is this providing them the value too? But really, I have to be a little bit selfish. It is my calendar. If I'm going to spend 30, 60, 15, doesn't matter how many minutes on a call with somebody, there's got to be value in it. And if there's not value or the value has kind of lessened over time, it's like, okay, it's nothing personal, but I just have to move on. And that is very difficult to do, especially when there's something you've been doing for a while and you have to say, gracefully bow out and say, okay, this is no longer a fit. But that's where the power is. That is being a digital CEO. That is really taking charge of where you want to go and where your success is. So let's talk about the process. So let's kind of zoom out. We've kind of zoomed in to our perfect day. Now we're going to zoom out, very far out, very, very, very far out. And we're going to identify your MTP. So massively transformative purpose. So what this actually is, it's a concept from an excellent book. I've mentioned it on the podcast before. Steven Kotler's Art of Impossible. It is awesome. It is so good. Like, read that book. Like, a lot of the stuff I talk about kind of comes from the thoughts that I learned in that book and the concepts. I just really like the way that he thinks, and really, really good book, by the way. So my MTP, my massively transformative purpose, is this. I'll tell you what it is. Create content that has a positive impact. Inspire people to self-actualize in life and work, creating their own lifestyle by design. And I'm a thalassophile on a mission to protect, love, and play in the ocean. Thalassophile is just a fancy word saying ocean lover. So for me, it's really important that I keep that connection with the ocean. So that's my MTP. So like, if you're boiling down your mission statement for your entire life into, if I'm looking at it, I think mine's like 2 lines long. What is it? Do you even know? Like, where are you headed? You know, are you just kind of like going with the wind? You know, it's like, well, I see something over here. It looks kind of shiny. Oh, but what over there? That also looks good. Or do you have a very clear purpose? You know where you are headed. You may not know exactly what it's going to look like. Like, if you listen to my MTP, it is still a little bit fuzzy around the edges. Like, create content that has a positive impact. What type of content? Is it books? Is it podcasts? Is it, business writing? What does that look like? I intentionally left it a little bit more general. Inspiring people to self-actualize in life and work. That can look a million different ways. That could be a business. That could be a book. That could be this podcast. That could be doing what I'm doing on LinkedIn and inspiring people to just become better at LinkedIn. So it's really neat when you nail your MTP, because it can be expressed in so many different ways and still feel true and authentic to you. So I challenge you, look that up too. If you don't want to buy the book, just look up MTP. Steven Kotler, and you will understand the concept behind MTP and really nailing yours, because once you have that, everything else maps back to that MTP, and it is so powerful and keeps you on track. So once I identified my MTP, then it's like, okay, all right, I know what my overarching life mission is, and now I need to chunk that down into some big goals. So like 5 to 10 year goals, stuff that's going to take me a while to build. So for me right now, this is what it is. So first, I want to create successful digital programs, and it's a business that teaches good people how to do good business. So for me, it's a very heavy focus on my business right now, which is specifically focused on LinkedIn for the time being, but it probably will expand over time. The second thing, write books around self-actualization, lifestyle design. So I'm in the process of that at the very early stages. So no book's coming out quite yet, but I am working on my very first book that's around this topic. And then number 3, build a brand or a company around lifestyle by design. So that is the mango effect, and it will grow over time. And that's really where I want to head long term. So yeah, that's a big 5 to 10 year goal. It's not something I'm going to build right out the gate, not something I'm going hard and heavy on right at this moment, but baby steps. This podcast was my baby step towards that goal. Like, let's have these conversations that so many places and so many people are not having, because this is so important for us as humans to grow and to see other ways of doing things. All right. So we've identified the MTP. We have now chunked that MTP down into those big 5 to 10 year goals. And now we chunk those 5 to 10 year goals into stuff that we can do this year, this quarter, this month, this week, this day. So you can see here, kind of like reverse engineering it. Like, okay, all right. So here's the big goal. All right. I think these are what my big 5 to 10 year goals are. Okay. Now what is my focus for the year? And then kind of breaking that down. What is my focus for this quarter? Then this month, this week, and today. And so I tend to base these foundational goals on the 12 categories in Lifebook. So you probably heard me talk about Lifebook, amazing program, but just thinking about the 12 categories of our lives. And so my foundational goals tend to fall into these categories. So for example, a foundational goal for me would be, a financial goal. So for me, we are funding our final year in one of our IBC policies this year. Like, I'm super excited. I'm like, oh my gosh, we're fully funded after this year. So for me, that's a really big financial success goal. Is like, okay, we're going to fully fund this policy and then move on to the next one. So that would be something that I would call a foundational goal for the year. This could also be applied to business. So for me, a business goal, I got a lot of them, but one of my business goals is really creating a 6-figure income stream around digital programs. So group programs, memberships, digital offers, affiliate programs, these types of things. So I'd really like to turn that into a 6-figure income stream for my business. So that's something that would be considered a foundational goal. Now, looking at these goals, you would probably expect that we'd break them down. Like, obviously, a 6-figure income stream isn't going to materialize out of thin air. I'm going to have to figure out, okay, so what do I need to do this quarter? All right, probably something kind of big. I probably need to do a launch. What type of launch? Do I already have this program? Do I need to create this program? And then you're kind of breaking it down into what I need to do this month. So I have my monthly goals. And then, okay, breaking that down into what I need to do this week. And then what do I need to do today to reach my weekly goals, to reach my monthly goals, to reach my quarterlies, to reach my annual goals. And things are going to happen. And that's the thing. Like, some people say, that's so much planning. My husband laughs because he's like, Sundays, it's like, I've got to do my weekly review. He's like, really? Do you really have to do the weekly review? I said, yes, I do. And he's seen me do it for years. Like, we've been doing this, I think I started right when I first met him. So it's been almost a decade that I've done weekly reviews. There were a couple years there where it was kind of on and off. But for the most part, weekly reviews. Oh my gosh, almost a decade later, here we are, still doing weekly reviews. And it has become so central to my process and getting clarity for what I need to do this week. And a lot of times I notice at the end of the week that I have to adjust. And something that I thought would be important this month is actually not as important, or life happened. And I have to either take it off, delete it, replace it, update it, or something. But if I was not tracking every week, I would be completely off base. And there would be tasks I said, wow, I set that as my annual goal. I didn't even get close. Well, yeah, because you didn't write it down. You didn't map it out and talk about, okay, what do I need to do this week, this month, this day, this quarter, this year? So really mapping it out and learning how to plan, learning how to schedule, because I feel like that's something that is a skill that you develop over time. I was not good at it when I first started. I still feel like I'm not that great. I am still learning every day. I'm like, I can get all of these things done. Like, especially if I write more than 10 things, I look at it now and I'm like, Mindy, that's not realistic. Like, you're not going to get more than 10 meaningful things done. I'm not putting piddly stuff on there. Like, most of it is like a project or a check-in or something that requires my brain, and I have to get them all done. So thinking in terms of how much you can actually do in a day, how much you can actually do in a week, what can you actually accomplish in a month? These are really important mile markers and benchmarks to really understand about yourself. And over time, you are going to get more efficient. You're going to get better at planning. If you are looking for a tool, I will put a link in the show notes. Excellent tool that I love using, especially if you like to go analog, is the Full Focus Planner by Michael Hyatt. Excellent. And I don't think I'm an affiliate, so it's not an affiliate link. I should be an affiliate, though. I love the Full Focus Planner. I've been using it since the beginning of this year. I've used other planners in the past. And the Full Focus Planner, I just love the way it's laid out. It took me a few weeks to get used to it, though. I will not lie. And also setting it up for the quarter is a little bit time intensive, but it's so worth it. It just helps me feel crazy clear about what I'm doing this year, this quarter, this month, this day, this week. And when I see that, I can see that I'm making progress. And it's really fun to flip through them. I think I've shared a couple of, Reels. I can't even talk. IG Reels, where I'm flipping through my Full Focus Planner. And it was just a fun exercise to do. Like, oh my gosh, over 90 days, I did all of these things. And when you're feeling down on yourself or really frustrated that you're not making enough progress, when you go back into that planner, something with pen and paper that you can touch, that you can feel, that you actually wrote in consistently, it's really powerful. You're like, wow, I guess I did make a lot of progress this quarter, even though I feel like I didn't do enough. Because like I talked about in one of the recent episodes, it's never good enough. Sometimes it is. And sometimes using our planner can help us remind us that it is. All right. So you're identifying your MTP. You are chunking that MTP down into those big 5, 10-year goals. And you are chunking those down into your foundational goals for the year, quarter, month, week, day. Then you are actually doing those annual, quarterly, monthly, weekly, and daily reviews to stay on track. And yes, that can be a lot, especially at the end of the year when you have an annual, a quarterly, a monthly, and a weekly review all due on the same day. So you gotta have to spread them out over time. But that is the one time where it does feel a little overwhelming. But for the most part, the weekly review is something that is just really, really important. A monthly review I like. Some people will skip the monthly and just do weeklies and quarterlies and annuals. So it's up to you. Figure out your cadence. I like the monthly goals though, just because they feel like they are longer than a week, but shorter than a quarter. So I can see that I'm on track. And then what you'll do when you are doing those reviews, this is when you make decisions. Like this is when you adjust timelines. This is when you change your objectives if needed. And they are based on these regular check-ins. And you catch things. You catch things sooner. You don't go down the wrong path for 6 months and then say, oh, that didn't work. How did I get here? You know exactly how you got there. And so you can course correct. And that's what the reviews are there for. Yes, they are time sensitive. Yes, you actually have to do them. You have to be consistent. But they keep you on the right track. And if you are intentionally living your life, the weekly, daily, monthly, quarterly, annual reviews are so worth it. And they tell you where you are. They give you a measurement. So don't skip them. I know it's hard to say. It's hard to do, I should say. It's easy to say, hard to do. So you pay attention and you drop goals that no longer matter. You lean into the biggest drivers where you already have momentum or you can reasonably expect momentum. That's what people don't talk a lot about when it comes to the reviews is like, oh, okay, so if there's a goal that's no longer relevant, do I still need to focus on it? No, you drop the darn goal. You lean into the ones that are actually working. Or if you have to think up something else, that's when the reviews are such a good check-in and help you to figure out what you need to do instead or what you need to test next. We talk a lot about lifestyle experiments here, and this is why. Because when we do these reviews, it shows us what is not working. It shows us that, you know what? This is a place where I need to do an experiment because this is not working and I need to test a hypothesis and figure out if I should do something else instead. So that's what these reviews are so good for. And then you just rinse and repeat. Okay? So rinse and repeat the do this, not that formula, until you achieve your milestones. And then you set new ones. I mean, there's always a goal. We're always focused on some goal. And it may be far in the future, it may be close. I like to have goals all along the way so I can feel successful, especially when you're looking at that big 5 to 10 year goal. And I'm like, I have no idea how I'm going to get there, especially in 5 to 10 years, but eventually I will, and it's one day at a time. It's one decision at a time. Those micro decisions. I mean, it can be as simple as what time you're going to bed. It's like, okay, if I go to bed at this time tonight, then I will get up tomorrow and have enough energy to actually do that big project or send that proposal. That's what these small decisions and why we do the daily reviews especially, they help us make better decisions. And when we master decision making, that's when we achieve success. So I like a little metaphor here. When you are planning an epic vacation, think about it. Where do you want to go? Okay, take a moment, have some fun. Like, where do you want to go next? I'll tell you where I want to go. I want to go to Bali. I don't know why Bali is like top of mind for me. One of our island friends took a trip there and she shared reels every single day of the Bali trip. Lots of monkeys. I love monkeys. I don't know what it is about monkeys. I love monkeys. And so I've been dreaming about Bali. Okay, so for me, I'm going to pick Bali. So first, you got to start with knowing where you want to go. So there are a bazillion islands I could go to, a bazillion surfing destinations. But for me, I'm thinking about Bali right now. So then you got to set up some milestones as part of the planning process. When do you want to go? Do you want to go with your family? Do you want to go solo? Do you want to go with friends? What is that going to look like? How much is it going to cost? When do you need to buy tickets? Can you buy them at the last minute? All of these different things. Where are you going to stay? Should you do some research about the area? When is there good surf? All of these things are part of the planning process. So then once you kind of think about all those, you do all that brainstorming, then you create a to-do list. All the tasks that you need to do to get ready for that vacation. So once you have all those tasks, then you start doing the tasks, checking them off the list until it comes to that day where you're hopping on a plane or driving, however you're getting there, and you actually go on the vacation. And is the vacation going to be exactly what you expected? No. Everything changes when you're on vacation. You may do less or do more. Things may go wrong, so you have to kind of adjust every single day you're on vacation along the way. But then you come to the end of your vacation, you're like, that was amazing. I made some memories. Some of them good, some of them maybe not so good, but I made it through my vacation and I'm headed home. So it's very, very similar to how we approach goals. You got to know where you want to go, set up some milestones, create a to-do list, actually do those tasks, go on your vacation, adjust every day along the way. And that's how we reach our goals for our life. That's how we create a lifestyle by design. That's how you get to live the life that you want to live every single day. So I'm going to wrap it there. I'm all fired up today. All right. So have you ever thought about the do this, not that formula? Like, have you ever thought about applying this to your life? Or are you thinking about it now? So how do you make great decisions throughout the day? I love to hear people's decision-making process. And that may be kind of weird, but I'm always curious. Like, how do you do it? Because I might be able to learn from you too. So are you currently on track or off track to reach your next milestone? If you're not clear on that milestone, go through the exercise. Identify your MTP, your massively transformative purpose. Again, that is Stephen Kotler, Art of Impossible book. So read that book. I highly recommend you do. But if you don't want to read the book, just Google it and you will find out, the summary, and you can kind of figure out the process for creating your own MTP that way. So again, it is not about perfection. It's not becoming the perfect CEO of your life, but it's about being able to make those smart decisions every day in alignment with where you're headed. That's it. Do this, not that. Repeat. Do this, not that. Repeat. So if you're curious or you want to talk about this, DM me on Instagram to share your take on the do this, not that success method. I don't know. Should I call it a method? I don't know. But it sure is fun. So let's encourage and inspire each other this week. If you like what you hear, please subscribe to the Mango Effect podcast wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. And if you are up for it, I'd be thrilled if you wanted to write a 5-star review for the show. If you love it, the more of us talking about creating our lifestyles with intention, the better. We are still a new show, so any reviews and subscribes we get will definitely help us as we grow. I will talk with you all in the next episode. Have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye for now.